All right, number 3 we're gonna talk about is finding a routine. I, here at Overload, I kind of have an advantage of, our classes are structured. We have classes all day long for my members in the population here, including the senior population from Rancho family, to have that routine made for them. So we offer a class time, you show up, you do the work, you get to go home. It's very structured, but absent someone who has those resources, what do you guys, let's talk about some things that maybe we can implement without having a gym resource or something at our disposal that maybe makes it easier. So Dr. Sotis, I'll go to you with this one first.
Well, prior to March of 2020, I probably had a lot more routines than I do now, for sure. I think that's definitely one of the biggest things that I've lost, even just as a recreator, is that routine. And so, we've seen this, obviously, there's so many implications from COVID, and definitely that routine is one of them, because so many people, our patients included, who had gym memberships and things like that, and that was such a crucial part of their fitness and their day-to-day, their week-to-week, and then everything just kind of totally just blew up and got out of sorts. And so the struggle is really trying to get back into a routine. And so we talked about doing things at home. So people have created new routines, right? Yeah. And so, I think doing things at home, when we can, I remember kind of thinking back, some of my friends in medicine would talk about some of the colleagues that they had who, like, in between patients would, go to their office and they'd do 25 push-ups or they'd plank for 5 minutes. And I remember thinking, that's crazy. That's insane. Like, who does that? Yeah. And now I do that. So, like, you have to find ways to get creative, in certain times. But I think finding the routine, we talked about, walking the dog, like that definitely is kind of, been a routine, or, on the weekends, trying to get in a long bike ride or a long run or something like that. Those are definitely, some of the routines that I think, I've found myself kind of trying to get back into, and really kind of fighting and clawing to get back to what we used to have as a routine, for sure.
Yeah, through the last year and a half, we've seen, like you said, a lot of fallout from what we usually relied on to help us with those routines. So pulling it back into our control, into finding something that does work, is going to be equally as hard as losing that routine. And so hopefully, as we start moving forward and things start getting better, we can start picking some of that stuff back up. Dr. Vincent, what are some things that you've seen work for patients, or routine recommendations?
I think when you think of routine, I think generally I tell patients to kind of think of it a little selfishly. Think about doing something for yourself almost. I mean, it's routine to shower, it's routine to brush your teeth, it's routine to...
Unless you have teenagers, teenage boys.
Maybe not.
I mean, hypothetically, I could talk about that.
But if you can think of it in that same vein, right? If you can think of it like, okay, this is, I put my gas in my car today, or 3 times a week, or whatever the case may be, and try to marry it to that, and then to make it seem almost as if, hey, my day's not complete with it. I bought an Apple Watch during COVID. I kind of sometimes want to throw it against the wall, because it's like, hey, where your rings at? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you really just finding accountability. Really, again, knowing that you're doing it for an overall goal. I mean, I think expectation and what you plan on having as an outcome is really important. I mean, particularly for the folks that are going to do stuff at home. I mean, if your stairs are there and your chair is there, give it 30 minutes. It's a sitcom. I mean, that's all it is. And then you can just do that, and you can feel good about yourself the rest of the day. Because it's interesting how people will want to, reward themselves without doing the thing that they want to reward themselves for, which I find kind of odd. Like, I thought about dieting today, so I'm going to treat myself to an ice cream, but you didn't
actually do it
yet. So no, if you can really, reward yourself with that, and just try to marry it to some other routine that you already have, I think is the best kind of way to start, at least, to try to figure that out.
Definitely.
Great advice.
Yeah, my wife does a lot of kind of wellness retreats, coaching and things like that. And one of the things that she often quotes, I can't think of who the guy is who said this, but he said, first we make our habits and then our habits make us. And so finding those things that we really enjoy, that we can build in, that can become routine. Because, oftentimes we feel like, oh, I really should run. I hate running, but I really should run. Or I hate biking, but I really should do it, so I'm going to try it. Or even just people who go to a gym class and they feel like, boy, I really should do this, but I don't like it, and then you don't stick with it. And so it doesn't become routine, it doesn't become habit. Yeah. And so I think part of it too is just really finding what you love to do or what excites you, and so I think that's one of the things that I've really tried to encourage my patients with is just find that exercise or that activity that really causes you to become alive, and if it does, keep doing that. Yeah. Incorporate that into the routine and try to figure out how you can make that something that you do regularly, because you're going to stick with it if that's what you feel when you do it.
Yeah. And I mean, just to close this routine segment, I like to celebrate small victories, right? So if you find something that you find beneficial and that actually gets you moving and creates some type of pattern for you that's producing results, start there. Just to pick the smallest thing that you can be successful at and celebrate those victories as you move. Sure. But don't stop trying to do more, right? Like, you always have a goal for something else, or something you can add or make that enhanced for yourself.
Absolutely.